Ooh.
So close down and just looking and saying, well, I don't know how to do this.
You're venturing out.
More, I may not know exactly how to do this, but
right.
I'm going to try. So let's see what happens.
Has anybody made any mistakes in the past 2 weeks? Has anybody made a mistake? Did anyone die as a result? Any blood?
I didn't see every head nod.
I know.
Someone's either not being honest or
Someone is lying, right? Did anyone die as a mistake? Did anyone lose a client that said, I hate you? I hope your house burns to the ground. No, right? That rejection, if things don't go exactly as planned, or there's a mistake made, you guys, this is the part to learn, go, oh my word, I can still keep this together. I can apologize. I can say, you know what, I'm going to fix it. Just give me some time and I'm going to fix it. That is probably one of the key mindsets to any top agent. They realize if the mistake is made, that's okay. Everything doesn't go to pot as a result of that. But the sellers will feel like that because this is their first time or it's their one deal. So you guys have to hold it together and go, you know what? It's okay. Let me go find out. It doesn't mean you say it's all right and there's no problems. Just say, I'm going to get working on it and we're going to get it fixed as quickly as possible. And they'll look at you and go, okay, I'm going to grasp a hold of that. I'm going to hold on to that. And I'm going to do that. Because then also you guys need to know that in reality, you're going to have to do some work to keep some things together. But you can't stop lead genning to hold the deal together. Right, Ryan?
Right.
You can't go, oh, I've got to drop everything else in the world to put this fire out because it's burning my house to the ground. It's not burning your house to the ground. There is nothing that can't be resolved after 2 hours of lead gen rather than right now. Even though whoever's on the other end will feel like that. But if you don't set the expectation that you guys do lead gen till 11, how many of you guys tell your clients you don't answer the phone until 11? How many say, oh no, I'm available, call me anytime? Right? Call me anytime. We say those words, but is that true? What happens if they call you at 9 a.m. with the fire? You've told them, call me anytime. Say, you know what, from 9 to 11, I look for buyers for houses and I look for so I look for the same thing. If I'm going to list your house, I'm going to look for buyers for your house. I'm going to look for sellers so you have somewhere to move. So I return all my calls. I return my calls after 9. They can call you, but they know you're not going to answer, but you're going to return the call after 11. How would that feel to you? If you called someone knowing they return calls after 11, would you feel angry if they didn't call you back till after 11? No. So set the expectation, you guys, but you have to say it out loud to yourselves first.
One thought, you can make that note in your voicemail so anyone leaving you a voicemail will know that you're not going to return calls till after from 12 to 1 or after 4 or whatever it is.
Some of the best time-blocked agents have on their voicemail, I return calls from 11 to 12 and 3 to 4. So I'll get back to you then. But always return the calls during those times. Don't miss returning calls. And then you time block in. Call everybody back between 11 to 12 and 3 to 4. Then if you don't answer the phone all day long, how would that feel? If you didn't have to answer the phone every time it rang because you know you want to give good customer service. If the expectation is set that I call back during these times, then when they get a call back, what it does is validate that you're honest with them. And that they validates that you're doing what you said you would do. And isn't that why they work with you? Because you're going to do what you said that you would do. Right? So start thinking about that. How does it feel to you? Put yourself in the customer's shoes. It doesn't feel good when I want you to answer and you don't. But if I know you're going to call me back from 3 to 4 and you do, it's a different feeling. Even though both the times you didn't answer. So think about that. It's a great way to do it. It's hard to not want to answer that phone. Now think about being a buyer or a seller. That realtor, that phone rings. And you feel like you've got to answer it. And you're sitting in front of a client. How does that client feel? Neglected. But yet you know you want that client to feel good and you want that client that's on the phone to feel good. Well, what happens is we have the wrong expectations set. Turn your phone off during appointments. Well, you know it's going to be okay because you've told them on your voicemail, I'll call you back between 3 and 4. Then don't set any appointments between 11 and 12 or 3 or 4. Get all your phone calls returned. Can't we control our business like that? Can you say I already have an appointment from 3 to 4 and someone will set a different time? All right. So think about that. So start to think about that because this is what you're going to learn. And of course, this takes you further into bold because you're going to teach your clients. You're going to teach your clients how to treat you. That's a bold law. You teach your clients how to treat you. Or actually the law is you teach people how to treat you. So if you're that agent who says, I'm 24/7, you're teaching them that you're 24/7, Sunday night at 7, you're okay to answer the phone because you said 24/7. You said anytime. That's what you said. And when you don't do it, how do they feel?
You feel like you don't appreciate them or value them.
Right. And that you don't tell the truth. You're not available all the time, liar. Well, yeah, I was a liar. I wanted to say that because that felt good, because that is my script that is embedded in my brain to say, right? Who has an embedded script that says, no, call me anytime. No, don't worry about it. Right? We do, because we like to help people. Okay, so how are we doing on our contacts? How's your database looking? Is it getting there? Why don't we look at it? All right, I can't pull it up. It takes too much time. I know. I will tomorrow, though. I'll be ready. I'll be ready to pull it up on Wednesday. So in that, I obviously see she wants to be number 1 on that board. So you guys better get your contacts in. So how are we doing on the database? How are you feeling about getting them in there? Struggles? Anybody struggling? In internet land, anybody struggling? Right? It is hard. Yep. So now think about this. If you return calls from 11 to 12, maybe that's also when you're entering your follow-up notes. You're going to have to time block it, because there's no time you're sitting around eating bonbons. If this works, which it does, no one sits around. Because as soon as you're done with work, what do you got to go to? Soccer games and nail appointments and finger painting. I don't know, whatever else people do. I just work. No, it's great. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're going grocery shopping finally. You're finally running to the store because you have a hole in your sock and you haven't been able to get to the store for 2.5 weeks. My husband goes to the store. If I let him go to the store, he buys everything in the store. So I try to go grocery shopping because he has a problem. Now we had 8 things of honey half eaten. He doesn't like to wait for it to drip. So he stops using it and goes to the one that's fuller. That's what happens when I'm not in control of my home. So, and you know what I'm saying? But there are things we have to do. So if you don't time block these things, they're not going to get done. Time blocking will say, and it's hard, you guys. I'm not saying, oh, it's easy. Time blocking, just do it. And it's super easy. And you can always follow it. No, it's the worst.
I'm finding the time. So you have to have a budget for your time. Just like
you do.
You gotta sit there and say, what's the most important thing?
I love that. Say that again, Tammy. You
need to have a time budget. Just like on the phone, you have a word budget. This is what you've got to get out in this amount of time. Time budget's the same thing. You've got to fill it with the most impact for those minutes or hours.
Exactly right.
Because otherwise, I hate seeing waste. Wasted time, wasted resources, or wasted business, because we're not going to have a better market than we have now. We can have it forward.
You guys, that is powerful. That is powerful words. That is so true. Thank you for saying that. Those are powerful words, because it's really true. What is your best resources? You got to put those in the budget. It's the same thing with the budget. You got to put them in there because you got to utilize the best thing at the best time and get the most out of it, because we have limited resources of time. We are not unlimited in our resources. We have to do that. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Tammy. Okay, you guys, we're going to move on to this. How are we doing on the 5 calls? Did you guys do your lead gen every morning while I was gone? One person nodded. The other ones look like they're the cat with the mouse, right? Okay, let's make our 5 calls, and then we're going to turn it over to Ryan because he is awesome sauce. And I have to make some calls. So get on the phone so I can make some calls too. Oh, and wait, before you get on the phone, missions, is everyone caught up on your missions? Get your homeworks done. Get your missions done. You guys, there's important stuff in that. Important stuff. Okay. Let's make some calls. Yes. It's like right up there.
Jess, can you mute that, please?
Your mom. Oh, yes.
Thanks, Mom. Love you.
Engaged.
Not engaged, but
Locked in.
week 2, you kicked it on. Kicked it on. Nice. Nice, nice. Okay, how do we do? How many calls did we get made? 3 calls? 3 calls?
Made 4.
4 calls? Excellent. How many contacts? Anybody make a contact? Excellent. Great. Are you guys getting in the habit of asking the questions to get their contact information? Great. Any appointments set? 1 appointment. Guys, awesome. You guys are doing great. Doing great. Okay. So you guys, 10 new contacts. Get them added into your, by today, get them added into your database. How are you guys doing on your handwritten notes and or Facebook messages? Are you seeing some results? Are you guys doing notes or are you doing Facebook messages? What are you doing? How's that going? Right, you're getting some communication. That's okay. The key is the communication. Anybody else? Facebook or notes? Notes take a little longer. Facebook, are you getting some communication back?
I think I'm going to go and watch Facebook.
No.
because the handwritten notes just take
I will tell you, they take forever, but they're an impression, so don't think that I mean, it's a little easier to do Facebook, and I like Facebook, so maybe it's because it's my comfort zone. The what? But don't bring that up in bold. That's right. So, so in that, just keep doing it. If you're sending out the cards, you guys don't miss out that it's working. It's just a little longer return, but there is something about that embeds something in there. It is something different that very few people are doing anymore. So don't miss out on that opportunity. Also, there are people that won't do Facebook, so don't miss out on the chance to mail them something and do it that way. So, okay. So preview 10 homes. Last check. How did that go? How are you doing on previewing homes?
We didn't have the
No tour?
tour, but I still got the tour.
You still got into 4? How about you guys? It's nice to have that tour, huh? It just knocks a lot of them out.
7.
Excellent. Excellent. It's all on the board when I bring it up. Thank you very much. Okay, so you guys don't miss out on that. That is something. I know there's so many things you're trying to get done and it gets put in there. That previewing of homes. I encourage you to take a look each day. Mike Hicks will give you advice every morning. If I talk to you guys about this, every morning he looks up what's new on the market, what went pending, and what went under what expired. It's a good idea, you guys. It's a great way to start your day. And if you see a house that you'd like to go see that's vacant, put it on the schedule to run out and get some lunch and go out and preview that house. Okay? So just kind of get that into your habit of how can I be out doing something and can I grab a house that I'm previewing along the way? What?
I was gonna say I have a vacant listing.
Hey, Savannah has a vacant listing she'd love to have you see. Perfect. So this is something I didn't know. I don't know if you guys know this, that we can't give pricing advice except for in your own brokerage. Did you know that? If the other agent is not in our brokerage, they can't ask you, how do you think the pricing is? Did you know that?
I did not.
Totally against the law.
Against the
I've learned
law.
something.
Against the law. You cannot have, it's something like coercion. I don't remember what it is under the law. But I forget where I learned that, but it is, you can only give pricing advice within your own brokerage. So see our own agents. You know, that would be helpful. If they want to hear that pricing advice. So pull up the Keller Williams listings and go out. They'd love to hear some feedback on what you think.
On tour, when you say it's priced right, you can't even say.
You can't, you can't ask, hey, what do you think about the pricing on this? What would you, give me some feedback.
$239.
Yeah, it looks like the price is $239 is what I think. I don't think Craig Boyack, I'm recording this, is out on tour, but I'm telling you guys right now, that is not something that you're not supposed to ask for pricing feedback from agents outside your brokerage.
I would say, what do your comps say?
That's right. I would say, yeah. So there you go. Okay, so you guys, I'm going to turn the time over to the amazing Mr. Ryan Hansen. He is his first year, he was the Rookie of the Year for our office. That would be like 9 years ago. No, 4.
I turned 5.
You turn 5 in 2 days. That's awesome. So Ryan is a lot like Michelle, where he came into the market and he's just like, you just go. Quit worrying about all the mistakes. Quit worrying about all this. If you lead gen, that's how you do. So he is a great example of what happens. His first year did 40 homes, 50 homes. 35 homes in his first year out. So it's not too shabby. And this year you're on track to close 80.
I have to look at.
Oh.
So second.
Anyway, quite a few. Come on up. So anyway, so this is ask him information. Talk to him about your fears because he's there to help you with that. So, Ryan, if you have a video, did you get instructed on how to do? You have any videos to watch?
Yes, there are
Okay.
videos, and hopefully I can figure it out.
You can.
If not, I'll act it out.
Right here. You just hover over and then go to this one.
Okay.
You click on today's what session?
Yep, 7.
7. There's your 2 videos, and just grab it and drag it up.
Okay.
Now the difference is
Yes, it's backwards. I got it.
what?
The dragging up is backwards.
It
You have
goes
to
that
go
way.
off to the right to get to the left.
You do?
Yeah.
Why?
It's all good. I got it.
No, it's to the
Yes.
left. It's to the left. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're off. Okay. Thank you so much, you guys. You're in good hands. He's like, you're taking too long. Let's roll up.
Yeah.
We just. You're funny.
Hello, newbies. Goodbye, newbies.
Okay, wait. You just left. I'll fix you.
Can we say newbies? Because
I think that's not a fair housing violation.
Okay, good.
I have a lot of fair housing violations. There we go. Okay.
Awesome. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So, to finish her, so the second year, Ben Kinney, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, super big agent out of Washington, came into town, and about 120 people were in the room, and he wanted a subject property or a subject person to talk about their business, and I was naive and arrogant enough to say, yeah, you can choose me. And so 120 people in there, and he said, how long have you been in the business? I said, I just hit my year mark. Great. How many houses did you sell? 35. He's like, wow, that's pretty amazing in your first year. I said, yeah, it's pretty good. He said, what are your goals for second year? I said, well, I want to increase a little bit. I think I can do 40. And I'm not kidding you. He took his, whatever he had, his pen in his hand. He's like, you know what? We're done. Get out of my room.
Oh.
I'm like, you prick. that's what I thought. I'm like who? I know who you are, but like, why would he do that? And he said, so you're telling me, and I'm like, so I asked him, because again, I was naive and arrogant enough. I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, you did 35 houses last year. Yeah. He's like, and your goal is 40 this year. Yeah, it is. I think I can do it. He said, you're wasting my time. You're wasting your time. Get out of my room. I'm like, all right, I got to ask, what should it be? And he said, if you can't get to at least 66, then you're wasting your time and you're wasting my time and you're not going to make it in this business. Kind of pissed me off, right? 40 is pretty dang good. I was told that coming in, I was supposed to hit 12 maybe in my first year. And so I kind of dug my heels in. I'm like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. So 6 months later, I'm at a national convention and walking through the middle of the vendor hall, and Ben Kinney's there hyping his product, right? I'm just walking by. I know who he is. I didn't think he knew who I was. And he's like, he kind of calls me, hey, Ryan, what's going on? I'm like, hi, Ben. It's like, how's your deals coming along? How many have you had? Have you hit 66 yet? Or are you on pace to hit 66? Like, he remembered this from 6 months ago. And I said, well, I actually just closed my 68th house this year. And he said, that's awesome. So how many are you going to hit? I said, I don't know. I think 100 would be awesome. And he just said, good for you. So that really stuck with me. Like, he knew me from just a few quick seconds to know that he could tick me off, and all it was going to do was drive me to do greater things. So year 2, I ended with 93 sales. Year 3, I took a little step back and went to 90. Last year, I did 105. And this year, we've had a few changes in my business, and so I've stepped back even further just to bounce forward and help other people. Hi, Summer. So most of my business, really, it's interesting that they asked me to teach this class, because most of my business was built off of buyers. So I understand the concepts and I agree with them, listing to last, right? And as new agents, buyers are going to be where your primary source of business is going to come from. Would any of you agree? Sure. List to last. And I agree with that. Absolutely. You're going to have to list to last in this business. But when you're first starting out, buyers are going to be your source of income primarily. Because I can tell you, if you go to a listing appointment right now, say you have a listing appointment and I go second or I go first or whatever, anyway, we're listing the same house, or we're attempting to list the same house, 95% sure I'm going to get the listing. And how do you think that I would do that? Or why do you think?
Confidence and experience. Yeah.
For sure. Like what does a seller want to do with their house?
They want the most money.
They want the most money, and they want someone that knows that they can sell the house, right? And so as a brand new agent, and this is not a knock on you guys, because obviously I was there just 5 years ago, so I completely get where you're at. But the one thing that you have is you kind of have time. You're like, you know what, I have some time. I'm going to devote everything I have into you guys, and we're going to get this house sold. That sounds great to them. And unless it's a really good friend or a family member, it's probably not going to work against a bigger agent that goes in and says, you know what, this is where we think you should list your house. We sold 105 houses last year, or whatever the number is. Sign here. And most likely they're going to do that because they need that experience. They want to get their house sold. Buyer is completely different than that. And so you've got to build your expertise through buyers as you're trying to get those one-off listings and make sure that you're not competing with some of the agents that have been in the business for a while, because I guarantee they'll eat you up on the listing appointments. It's just, they've done it a lot. All right, so get experience with the buyers, and then it's going to help you with the listings down the road. I don't know how to use this thing. Maybe. I am not a professional trainer, as you can see.
Nor do you play well on TV.
Nor do I play well. And I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Yeah, I'm not even sure how to get to the next tab. Oh, there it goes. Lead gen is absolutely, I don't know if they've hammered this into your head enough, but lead gen is our #1 job as agents. No, it's not. You guys know by now that going and showing houses, although that's the fun part of our job, right, is not everything it's cracked up to be. We got to find people to show the houses to first. So how do we find buyers?
Other open houses.
Open houses, okay.
Door knocking.
Door knocking. How many people in here have gone door knocking? Lori, I can see you. You should raise your hand too. Lori's on our team, so that's how I know. So I saw 2 hands, 3 hands. Why does that? What about door knocking has stopped the rest of you from doing it?
That's how I got my listing, was door knocking. And
Okay.
so just, I mean, I door knocked for a while, obviously, listing, but
Sure.
just, I think it makes it a little easier to just get up and go do it. It can be results from it.
So talk to us a little bit about how you did it. So you knocked on the door, they answered.
Yeah.
You're like, hi, I'm here to list your house.
No, I was just like, I was really just going around. I was like, do you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell real estate? She was like, oh yeah, well, we're moving. And I was just kind of like, oh, not sure what to do next.
You're like, oh, great. Is that why the moving van's in the driveway?
Okay. No, and then I just had a conversation and learned to just ask more questions, where she's moving, why she's moving. And it was her husband needed to relocate for his job, and so they need to get it sold. And it was actually a while until I got it listed. Probably 3 to 4 months, and having that constant communication with her too. I felt like it was hard because I was like, oh, I feel like I'm bothering her.
But were you bothering her? So we all have that mentality, right? That we're bothering our people. Do you think you actually were bothering her?
Like when she would respond to me for a couple of days, I felt I was, but I was like, no, like I get it. Like she has a life, she has kids, but at the same time she has to get her house sold. So this is a priority for her. So.
Right. So that's touching on a good mindset thing that I wanted to go into as well. So what about you guys? Do you think she was bothering her?
I think, I mean, in the moment, they might think, oh, I have to check this, but they're grateful that someone's pushing them to get it done.
Absolutely. I don't know your name, but I 100% agree.
I mean, if you were bothering her, you wouldn't have the listing. If you were really that big of an annoyance.
And so that's what I love about real estate is we're here to help people. Like if you think of the ups and downs of the markets and where they go, lotions and potions are the first thing that people stop buying, right? And then they stop buying maybe cable TV or whatever else. Just the frills of life. People always need a place to stay. And so if we can get it through our head that we're not bothering people, we're actually here to provide a service, regardless of where the market is at that point, people are going to be moving for whatever reasons, and they need our help. And it's up to us to be the better agents that we can help them. There's a lot of terrible agents out there, unfortunately, and it can give us a pretty bad name at times. And so I look at that, and when I run across a bad agent, just kind of smile and say thanks, and it tells me, like, you know what, you're in the right spot. You need to help these people, save them from that person. So that's just a little side note. But no, I don't think you're ever going to bother somebody. If you were bothering them, they'd probably tell you. And they still need to sell their house because they're moving, right? So open houses and door knocking. What else? Cold calling. Where do you get the list to cold call? Okay. Everywhere.
I mean, I've been going through my contacts in my phone that I haven't touched for years and years. They've just randomly been entered, and then so now I'm reaching out. Are you still in Idaho? Oh no. Oh well,
So
that's where most of mine are.
Savannah, right?
Yeah.
Did you get a referral for where they went to?
I'm going to. They're living in the apartment now. Once they sell, then
That's awesome. Good. So that's another piece of business that I think a lot of people overlook is when you find a buyer that maybe they're coming from out of state or they're moving out of state or out of town, get a referral out of the deal. Say, I can help you find a great agent. Would you mind talking to them? Then it's up to that agent to actually secure the business. That's the easiest money you'll ever make. 25% for having one or two conversations with another agent. Take it all day long. Okay, so let's talk about open houses then. Many top agents will tell you that they don't work. What do you say to that?
I say, teach me how to make them work. Because I just have one.
Is okay? Okay, so let's talk about it. So why was it okay? What made it okay versus not good?
Well, because it was only a couple of couples that came through, and they're really not going to be ready till spring.
Okay.
So you got some good leads for spring and everything. That's fantastic. But I don't know. I just feel like I need to be doing something different.
See, I went through an open house, and I was the only person that went through, and it was a first sale night, and I was the only person that was on their roster to even look at it.
So I only had 3 people sign in, and it was all 3 people that came. So, but I also didn't, the seller wanted it last minute, so we really didn't have a lot of proactive
some of the best houses that I've ever done, open houses I've ever done, were fairly spur of the moment. So it doesn't necessarily take a lot of advertising to get a good open house. Yes, the 5th and 6th and 7th levels, if you guys have heard of those, how to take to that, obviously are ideal. And it's not always, you're not always able to do it that way. So as long as you have some catchy signs to drive people in, then it's never a bad time to do an open house. Even if you only have, Maddie's done a couple of open houses with me. Even if you have 0 people come through, does it mean that it was a completely waste of an open house? Why not?
for the seller, I feel.
Okay.
It's one more way to advertise their listing, get it out to the public.
Okay. So that's a benefit. So how about if you don't have a listing, and what do you do?
Well, somebody else that has one to do it. Yeah.
What do you do?
You call other agents within Keller Williams and say, hey, you know, I see this listing, and would you mind if we did an open house this Friday for you? And I mean, we did that with you, I don't know, about a month or so ago on Navy. And, you know, we didn't get the turnout we had hoped for, mind you, but, you know, we got a couple leads out of it. And it's, I mean, is it Chris Suarez that is kind of built his empire on open houses for the most part?
I don't know if that's exactly the only thing that he's done to
right,
build his empire, but yeah, he's
understood.
So he's a big agent out of Portland. Yeah.
And he considers it a victory if he only gets the information for 2 people at an open house. And so, yeah.
And I would say even if you only get 1 or 0, if you get 0, there's still ways to make that a successful open house. Now, if you're doing an open house for me or for one of the other agents and you get 0 people through the door, did it do you any good?
Depends if you got any leads on your lead gen.
There you go. So let's talk about that.
Well, so you're going to go door knocking. If you have the access to circle prospecting, you'll get a call list and call everybody within like a 1 mile radius.
Okay. So that's a good
So
way to do it.
it might not help you sell your house.
What if it's one of the spur of the moment deals and you still don't have anybody through?
So, I call out to the open house and say, hey, sorry you missed it. We had an open house here. If you still want to go through, we can schedule a time and then get them sell through. And if they're not interested, then go to, hey, do you know anyone?
Okay.
And sometimes that's the.
What if you don't have a call list? What if it was a spur of the moment thing, you don't have a call list and no one came through? How do you make that open house successful, Jill? Okay. Good.
Brian,
Yes. Yes, Lori, go. How could you make it successful?
as you well know, my very first listing came from an open house that you took me to, and I door knocked before the open house and got my first listing. And I think we only had 1 person come through that day, but they actually bought the house. So I didn't get any other leads from it when I was there, but I door knocked beforehand, and she was just like, well, you know, we've kind of been thinking about listing our house. Boom. That was my first listing, sold their house 2 weeks later.
Yep. And so how, during that open house, because you were saying, if you remember, Lori, you were saying that, oh my gosh, there's no one coming through. We were talking a little bit about the potential listing that you were having. What was my response to no one coming through?
I think that what you told me to lead gen. My favorite thing.
Yeah. At the open house, right?
Yes.
You're there for 3 hours or 2 hours or however long you're doing the open house. No one's coming through. Why don't we lead gen?
Yeah, so I'm with Michelle Rose, you know her. So that's her big thing is you just go, you sit there and you work, and if somebody comes, great. If not, you got a lot of work done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We, you know, on our team, we do a lot of the spur of the moment open houses because it's just the way my brain works. It's kind of jumbled sometimes. So we'll go do it, and as we do it, that's what we're doing is lead gen. We did one on Navy on a Wednesday night, and nobody came through, but there was 3 of us there, and we were making our calls because there's no you're going to be lead genning anyway, right? If you're doing it in the evening, great. You might as well do it while you have the chance of someone else stopping in. Then it's a bonus. But as long as you do something, not just sit there like most agents will do and read a book or watch the time pass and then say, yeah, open houses are not good. They don't work. Again, just like the bad agents out there, I just smile and say, thank you. Yeah, you're right. They probably don't work for you. And that's okay. It's not their niche. And I know that that's where I built my business is primarily off of open houses. I did an absolute ton of them. And I didn't have a deal for my first 3+ months in the business. It was rough. So I get where you guys are coming from. If you wanted to know more of my story, I'd tell you later. But I was living in a single wide trailer that my buddy had listed, and just paying the utilities. I was rationing my gas to get to work. It was rough.
Did you read some books to help you not get discouraged? Like, what was
No,
discouragement, I think, is what gets you.
it's a lot of what gets you. Sure. I did a lot of calling, and I did have, so my instructor told us that 85% of the people wouldn't make it through the first 2 years. I don't know if you guys have heard that. It's a pretty true statistic, even in the times of plenty that we're in right now. And I got in 2012 when it was kind of bottom of the market, and everybody told me that I was really making a poor decision, and that's part of why I moved out to the single wide trailer, because that marriage didn't work out. I was told by her and her parents that I was gonna drive everybody into bankruptcy. All right, we're done. So I got into the business at that point. I actually had to drive over to Boise to take my classes because they didn't even offer them here. There was no classes. And I got in with a specific purpose. If I learn everything that I need to learn quickly and put my time in, then when it starts to pay off, like my name's already going to be out there. So I would have the advantage of everybody coming in when the market is good, because real estate always goes ups and downs, right? And so it really worked out. And most of it was off of open houses. Some of them, did you say something about the open houses? No? And I'm sorry, you guys could tell me your names, and I probably won't remember. But we should, right? We should introduce. I'm Ryan. You just see it on my shirt. So if you forget, just do that.
I'm Brittany. And
Brittany.
I'm Dave Nelson's transaction.
Dave, okay. Savannah, I know. Natalie. And her, what's that?
Natalie Alba.
Abba.
Yeah.
Cool. Maddie D. And Lynn.
Tammy DeCuckoo.
Tammy. See, I'm not going to remember these. Jill, I know. Trish.
Steven.
Yep, I know you guys.
Yeah, Rachel.
I'm just your neighbor.
And my neighbor.
Sheila.
Okay, good. I'm glad we got through that. And we got Lori on the phone and a couple other people MIA, but their computers are on, so that's good. So I did a lot of open houses. Someone mentioned, maybe it was Savannah that had mentioned that, no, it wasn't. It was Trish. Got it one time.
My open house didn't feel successful.
Yeah, so there was 3 people and they weren't gonna list until spring or by possibly later than that. And there's scripting to help you get through that as well. But one of my first leads that I got at these open houses, I have now 5 years later sold him 3 houses, and I should be listing his initial house that he came in for 5 years ago. Right, so don't write them off just because the timing might not be right for them.
Well, no, I haven't, but obviously I don't have good feedback from my sellers when I go in and I have, so kind of both ways.
Sometimes no feedback.
Successful for me.
Sometimes no feedback is the feedback that the sellers need to hear.
Yeah, it is. You're right. But
And as long as you show, because it's your listing that you did that out. So as long as you show that, yes, I'm working for you, this is what I was doing, then the seller's okay. There's only 2 reasons that a house doesn't sell. What are they? Price and price. That's it. Like, condition can be overcome by price.
So what's your script when you have an open house, it doesn't go well, this house isn't going well.
I like it. You guys are going to just dig into my brain. Do it.
What do you say to the seller? How do you present maybe overpriced without shutting them down?
So part of that's done in your listing presentation at the beginning. If we don't have a lot of showings, then we may be 5% overpriced. If we have a lot of showings but no offers, we might be 10% overpriced, or backwards actually. Yeah, there's 10 and 5 the other way. So part of it's that, and part of it just is that, hey, the feedback was in here. They're saying it's not the right house. And then I talked to the seller just like I just talked to you guys. There's really only 2 reasons that a house doesn't sell. It's price and it's price. And so if these guys come through and they say it's not just the right house, like, where would we have to be at to make it the right house? Is it 5,000 less? Is it 10,000 less? Because that buyer wanted to look at the house in the first place. And so what makes it the right house?
You don't
And
want to scare people off from the very get-go, have it priced, and may say their max limit is 250 and got priced at 255. You just basically bottomed out a whole bunch of buyers from 200 to 250.
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely magic numbers involved. So I'm skipping around. I don't even know if we're getting into this, but let's watch a video first. And then if we have time at the end, which I'm assuming we probably will, if you guys would like to see my buyer presentation, it's different than the books. And I'm not saying the book is bad. It's just not the one that I use. Fair? We do that quick. I have a request to do that faster. All in favor?
I'm good with that.
Now I've got to find the videos, though. You'll have to excuse my friend. He's a little slow.
Hey, I'm Jennifer Pollack, and I'd like to share tips on how to find the motivated. What do I mean by find the motivated? Turning a warm lead into a closed client. The first tip is when you find someone, you want to ask for the business. Let's say you're at a party and your friend is pregnant. You can always say, hey, it looks like you need a bigger house. Or you're out and about and you see this big, beautiful diamond ring and not the full wedding ring. You can say, hey, it looks like you just got engaged. Congratulations. When are you buying your next house? And I always ask, when are you ready to buy? When are you looking to move into your new house? What are those underlying tips of motivation that will tip you off to having a client that's ready to do business now versus a year from now? Tip number 2, ask for the appointment. Have a calendar or your smartphone ready to say, I have availability tomorrow at 2 or the next day at 4. Which one would work for you? Book the appointment when you meet someone who's ready to do business. Tip number 3.
So I want to stop it real quick. Why do you think it'd be important to give them an option of when you could meet? What if you could meet at all sorts of different time because you don't have anything else going on in your life?
And it just doesn't end up being a yes/no question. It's a choice.
Okay, I like that.
I'll get back to you. I'll see what's going on.
Well, it also shows that we're professionals, right? They expect that we have a schedule and that we need to stick with it. So by giving them that, then they realize, oh, okay, this is serious. This isn't just they're here at my beck and call.
Now you've got the appointment. You want to pre-qualify that appointment by using scripts. Ask questions such as, have you met with the lender that I referred you to the other day? To make sure that they have their price range in mind when they're meeting with you to buy a home, and that you know they're able to sell a home or that they're motivated by a desire to have another outcome, like maybe they're relocating or they're downsizing their home. There has to be some motivation level to continue forward with the appointment. Tip number 4, use embedded commands. When you get in front of the people face-to-face at your appointment, you want to be talking embedded command language, such as, when you're comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, then we'll sign the contract tonight. If you're using that language throughout your hour or half an hour appointment, they'll be more comfortable when they get to the end and they'll sign that contract and then you can move forward. The last step is you sign them up and now it's your goal to get a referral. When you're in conversation with them on the phone, in the car, at the closing, use questions. Who else do you know that's looking to buy a home, sell a house, or invest in real estate that I can call today? If you keep saying this throughout the process, you'll find yourself turning more of your current clients into referral business that will generate lots of easy sales for you. So go out there and find the motivated and have a great day.
All right, so ahas.
Ryan.
Yes.
So as you know, I went on an appointment this weekend where I needed to list the lady's house and she'd found the house that she wanted to purchase, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when I get there, I've got all the paperwork of how she told me she wanted, what she wanted to, the price and whatnot, and what she wanted out of the house. So I get there and she gets cold feet. So my old self would have just panicked and freaked out. But I kind of went into WWRD mode, which was what would Ryan do? And I lowered my voice and I talked really calmly to her. And I remind her, like on your video there, I talked about the market. I talked about her motivation and reminded her of her motivation of why she needed to do this. And then I just basically told her that I was not there to pressure her into anything, that this was all her. This was her decision as to what she wanted to do after I told her why in the first place she had chosen to do it. And as soon as I was done and I was no longer a threat, she grabbed the papers, said, "Here, let me sign them."
Awesome. Good work, Lori. That's why you're my favorite. So Lori, you had most of the script down, it sounded like. You missed a little bit. So one of the scripts that you'll learn in bold when you get there is, we're not here to help you make a bad decision. We want to give you the right information to help you make a great decision. You got about half of that, it sounded like, Lori. So
Right.
We'll work on that.
Close.
Okay, good. So what are the other ahas from that video?
I think about asking for the referral. She said numerous times throughout your whole transaction with them, always asking for a referral, even at closing or when you first meet during the process.
Follow-up is definitely key.
The life events, pregnancy,
Sure.
meeting, getting married, those things. I never thought about throwing that in the conversation.
Me too. It's exciting. So let's talk about life events. Did you guys know that more millionaires are made in American real estate than any other avenue in the world? Trump made his money in real estate? Most all of it. Yeah, you're right. It's how Trump got his tower, even after going bankrupt. It bounces back. So the reason that millionaires are made, right, is the average person is going to own 5 houses in their lifetime. So they're going to get their starter house, whether that's married or whether they're single. And that's a funny story too. I bought my first house when I was single and had to go through 5 different real estate agents, because every time I'd show up to a house to look, they're like, "Oh, where's your wife?" "I don't have one." "Why are you buying a house?" "Probably not." "Thanks. Have a good day." So the first one, the real estate agent that won, I didn't even like. I still don't like her. But she won because she didn't ask me that question. She didn't care. And that was important to me. I even tried to make it funny. I'm like, "I don't know, but if you meet her, will you introduce us? Because I don't know who she is." Nothing. Oh, okay. Anyway, so it's important to get to know your people and what is important to them. Why do you think I didn't want to, or why do you think I wanted to buy a house when I wasn't married? Okay. A place to live. I didn't want to rent. That was my whole thing. I didn't want to rent. I figured I'm a responsible kid. There's no reason I can't own a house instead of rent. That was my whole reasoning. It was a trashy little house, and it was my trashy little house. And I bought it, and it worked. And now I got sidetracked, so I have no idea where I was going, which is awesome. Welcome. Huh? Oh, life events, yes. So you get your first house, right? And then you either get married and buy another one, or your first kid comes and you upgrade to the next house. And then there's usually a couple more kids. Every kid, people want to upgrade because they run out of space. They buy 3 times as much for every kid that they need, and we always have to upgrade. And then at the end, when the kids are gone, now you downsize, not downgrade. Be careful on that word, because you don't ever want to tell people that they need to downgrade. No one needs or deserves to downgrade. And so then they downsize into their retirement house. So that's where they get the 5 from. Some people are freaks and they'll do quite a few more than that. A few people will still be in their original house, right? But on average, it's 5. So we're not gonna annoy people by asking these questions. We just need to really understand what it is that they are needing so that we can help them get there. Sometimes their first house that they bought is way too big and they really needed to have a smaller house. Well, let's downsize and downgrade at the same time. Get you into a house that you really should have had in the first place. Okay, so getting into wants and needs. I think we're past this portion, and I still don't know how to use this PowerPoint. Am I playing? Nope. Thanks for trying though, Matt. I'll give you bonus points. Did you guys get your market research done as part of your homework? No, why not? Savannah, come on. 85% of agents do not look at the stats. Do you guys believe that? Why do you believe that? Because I put a percentage at the end. That's the reason. I'm serious.
You know, 83% of all statistics
They're completely made up. Yeah, and I believe that too, because he put a percentage at the end. Like, that's the way we are as humans. Like, if you put a percentage at the end, you're going to be believable. Either that or develop an English accent. One of those two will have it done. If you put percentage with an English accent, done. 100% of people will believe you.
I love it.
No, but it is important to know your statistics. That's the one thing that we have that Zillow can't give them, right? Well, and they can't show them the house, and they can't tell you if the house is actually still active or if it was sold 3 years ago. But other than those things, this is the one thing that Zillow can't provide. Yeah, but other than that, pre-foreclosures, love them. Okay, so the poor people have missed a payment or two.
At some point.
Terrible, yeah. Hate that list. But we can use that to our advantage, right? We can tell people why Zillow is terrible and we shouldn't be using it, and we should use our apps and our webpage because they're accurate. Again, I get sidetracked and I forget where I'm going. Oh, do you think that I have a really high C? When I first took the disc, have you guys all taken the disc profile? It tells you if you're a D, an I, a C, or an S. S or uh-huh. It's a little one. You should have known. So a D is a driver, an I is something about a people person, and an S is stability, and a C is conformity.
Statistics and
yeah.
By the book and rules. And
so mine, when I first took mine, they had percentages next to them of where you're at, and my C is like 2%. It's not me. Just let's move on.
So how much coffee and supply I have this to which personality I have.
Sure, and it depends. I mean, can I come up with the statistics? Yeah, I'm a baseball guy, so I like statistics, but I don't live for real estate statistics. Yet I know them. You ask me statistics, there's a good chance that I know it. Why is that important? Look intelligent. That's the important thing. I've got to look intelligent. Like, if I have nothing else, like, I need to look intelligent. Okay, so, and I like that too. Fake it till you make it. Well, we're expected to be the experts for our clients, right? And if we don't know what we're selling or what the percentages are or what the statistics are we really an expert? Or are we just showing them houses and hope that they accept? Anyone can show houses. Like, everyone in this room, this is going to sound terrible, myself included, we're all replaceable very easily. So there's a difference between what the top agents do and what the agents do that don't make it in the business. And part of that difference, I believe, is knowing your numbers and sticking with them. A lot of people that don't make it will come into real estate, and maybe you guys were part of this too. You had a few friends and some family members that were ready to buy or sell a house, and then you get done with them and you're like, yeah, now what? So back to my class when I took it, and this guy is telling us that 85% of the people wouldn't make it. Like, arrogantly enough, I looked around the room and I'm like, okay, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. Maybe you have a chance. You know, okay, you're not gonna make it for sure. We had one lady. It was funny. Every question she answered, I just do this.
There's always someone in there.
Oh my gosh, she was terrible. How do you know where to place a lockbox? You don't. That's what I told her. I said, you don't. You don't have to worry about it. I was so annoyed that day with her. Don't worry about placing a lockbox. It's not going to happen. No, but I looked around the room and I said, okay, these guys aren't going to make it. And I knew that I was not going to be one of the people who weren't. But then during that 3 months of not having any deals and living in the single wide trailer, like, the thought occurred to me, oh my gosh, this is why people don't make it. It still didn't occur to me that it might be me. I was still, beyond that. I knew that I was going to make this career mine, but I had a greater understanding for why people didn't, because it's hard, guys. This is a hard business. If you haven't hit that yet, we need to work harder, because you should have hit it by now. It's a hard business, and it's so worth it when you break through. It's awesome. So there's another side note from Hansen. So know your numbers. Even if you don't, do you have to know the stats like Mike Hicks? Do you think? Jill, why not? You're shaking your head.
Most people won't even understand that. I think you need to know what's important. Most people are tiered buyers.
Exactly. Right. You have to be an expert in their price range and what they're looking for. You don't have to be an expert across the board. If I ask you guys right now, are we in a seller's market or a buyer's market? What would you say?
Sellers.
Why?
It's less than 6 months of inventory, or like closer to 2 months of inventory.
Okay. Anyone have any other answers? I forgot your name already. I'm sorry.
Natalie.
Natalie.
I just noticed on the MLS, we have more houses selling than are listed on a daily basis. So
Okay. What if I told you that we are in both?
I've used that before, because interest rates allow more buyers a greater purchasing power, so they can afford more, and
Okay.
therefore they are more motivated.
Okay, I can see that. And I'm actually referring to the market. We actually are in a buyer's and a seller's market right now. How is that possible?
Because you can't price your home too high, buyers are still expecting to
Mm-hmm.
get a big deal out of it. And then, like, maybe a few months ago in the summer, sellers could get away with a higher price.
Okay, yeah, I'd go with that. This is why I say that we're in a seller's and a buyer's market. What price range are we talking about? I didn't say that. I just said, are we in a buyer's or a seller's market? So if we list a house above 300,000, is that still a seller's market? No. Anything over 300,000, we're actually in a buyer's market. There's more houses on the market right now above 300,000 than we had even a year and a half ago. And some of them have been there that long because they're even more overpriced. So we've got both a buyer's market and a seller's market going on within the same market all at the same time. And it's important to know that statistic, because if you're dealing with a buyer that's looking over 300,000, they can expect to get a little bit better deal than what the market stats, the average is. And if you're looking at under 200, like, be prepared to go to battle, Mr. Buyer or Seller, because there's going to be 5 other people that want the same house. I don't care if they have it listed at 100,000. Do we have 110 to go out at this? Probably not your house if you don't. If you're scared of competing, it's probably not your house. It's only been on the market for 2 days. There's 3 people waiting to see it when we saw it. It's probably not your house. So those are the types of conversations that you got to have with your people. Is you got to know your market, whether you know the whole thing or not. It's okay. Know the market that you're dealing in. Thank you, Jill. And then just become the expert, even if it's just for that one day when you're with that client, and know just a few of the statistics. You don't have to know them all. Comments, concerns, questions? No concerns? Man.
So what's happening? Why are there so many more, why I consider luxury homes over 300,000? Why are they still building them bigger, better, leaner? And we have such a need for affordable.
It comes down to profit. Most people, especially when you get into that range, they're okay with spending a little extra money. They want new. That's their big house. That's their dream house at this point, right? So they'll upgrade to that, and the interest rates, like Stephen was talking about, is going to keep it to be somewhat affordable to a buyer. So why not move up now?
I just can understand why we're not building. We've got such a tight market for.
If you've got a builder that can make $15,000 on a property that they build for $250, or they can make $30,000 on one that they build at $350, they're going to build the $350 every time. It's all about profit.
You know, I think another thing is, so this is what I run into is we have a couple of people who are downsizing.
Mm-hmm.
They have plenty of money, but there are no houses
Right.
that need at all. Let me tell you, we looked.
Oh.
So what's our next option?
I've dove into the same thing. In fact, we
A seller or a buyer.
we're my wife and I are looking into building a neighborhood, and primarily that's the neighborhood that we're going to build. Is
There's definitely a market for it. Mm-hmm.
Yep. But why haven't I done it? Need more money. What are you gonna do? Profit,
I don't think
right?
That's a problem for you.
I do all right, but I also have 8 kids as well. So I mean,
You have money?
love the little monsters. I don't even have a wallet. And I don't know how to put Zip Fizz in a water bottle. So I'm hooked up on that. It was all coming out the top. It was bad this morning, but these guys had some entertainment. Okay, so what statistics would be important to know in any given market range?
I would say the absorption rate, meaning, you know, how many houses are on the market right now, how many get sold per month, and figure out how many months of inventory do we have in the price range that the people are looking to sell or buy in.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great statistic. Anyone know how to come up with that? It sounds like a really cool statistic to have. I would also say that it would be a cool statistic to have for your listings.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be important for them to know?
Yes.
There's a lot of people that I talk to that are over the 300, and they're like, "Oh, it's a seller's market. Can we just list it 20,000 higher?"
Not get it sold.
Not with me, right? Because if you list a house too high and it doesn't sell, who's the bad guy? You are, because you let them talk you into a higher price. They won on the scripting battle of the negotiation to list their house. And then the next agent's going to come in and list it exactly where you told them originally, and they're going to get it sold. And they're going to be the best agent ever. It's hard to get to this point, and it's somewhat gratifying to turn down a listing and have it go with somebody else with the higher price, and you get it 3 or 4 months later because the first agent ticked him off and couldn't sell it. Then be that first agent. Doesn't do you any good to have a sign in the yard if no one's gonna buy your house.
They are their own agent, and they're way out of the market.
That's okay. So you follow up. You stick with them for a while, because eventually they're gonna get sick of, why their house hasn't sold, because everybody around them is telling them it's a seller's market. Everything's selling. Okay, why isn't mine? Well, that's because you don't have a professional realtor working for you. I thought it was going to switch to the right page, and it's not. I am not what you would call a smart man. The Lord chose not to bless me with good looks or a fully functional brain.
Nobody's gonna manage it up there, so don't feel bad.
This stuff is just, it's so weird. Like, I should just be able to push play and then hit the space bar or the clicker and it should work. But it's not working, so I don't really feel that bad. I was just quoting Waterboy. Bobby Boucher, you're an inspiration to us all. Hello, lender. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to see you. So anyway, so there I was, right? Buyer lead sheet. So qualify. How do we qualify a buyer?
Get them to a lender.
Get them to a lender. Why is that important?
Well, yeah.
Sure.
And you know what they can actually afford, and they know what they can actually afford. It's not just, well, we want this, it's we can afford this. So,
Is it, how many people have taken a sign call so far? 2, 3, 4? 4.5? Okay. Do you ask them if they have a lender on the sign call? You can be honest. It's okay.
I forgot to. I did ask if they're working with another agent.
Okay. So why is that important? First off, are you working with another agent?
Because I don't want to go show them a house and find out they're working with another agent.
Mm-hmm. So I like to change mine up a little bit instead of are you working with another agent, because buyers are savvy. They know that that question means if I say yes right here, they're not going to show me this house, and my agent is, they're MIA. I need to see this house because I know the market. I got to get in. So if you call me and are you working with another agent? No. So I can just.
Contract or written any offers?
It's good. Or just say, who are you working with? Which agent are you working with? Right? Because it's really hard. It's really easy to say yes or no to a question. It's really hard to come up with a name if they don't really have one. And if you assume that they're working with another agent, say, hey, who are you working with? I'm not working with anybody. Okay, great. When can we meet? Oh, well, I was working with Ann. Okay. Do you want me to get a hold of her and I can get her the statistics on this house? You don't have to waste any more time with them. We don't want to chase down unethical things, right? So ask that question that way, and it helps quite a bit.
It's definitely more direct, more assertive.
Yeah. And it's also assuming that they're going to use an agent. So I don't have an agent. I'm going to do this on my own. Really? Like, did you know, buyer, that 88% of all home buyers will use an agent when they purchase a house? Why do you think that would be? Now you're educating them. And that's a real statistic. I didn't just make that up, Jill. I saw your face. Saw your face. That's true. Like in one of these slides, it actually says it, I'm pretty sure.
On page 11 in our manual.
Okay. We're getting there. Anyway, it's a real statistic. And as you're educating them, why would it be important to tell them that?
That builds value on your side.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then they don't want to be the only weirdo who didn't hire an
Exactly.
agent.
No one wants to be one of the 12%. I don't want to be at 12%.
It's too big of an important purchase to just leave it up to willy-nilly and screwy. So
Yeah.
You got to kind of emphasize, this is a huge purchase. Do you really want to go unadvised?
And the longer you can.
We know how to do that. So.
Yes, you do. You're an expert. Now, if you can keep them on the phone, the longer you can keep on the phone, the better chance you have of getting the appointment with them and becoming that agent. right? So if you're telling them, hey, who are you working with? Because 88% of people work with an agent. Well, I'm not working with anyone. Are you sure you want to go down that road? You want to be one of the 12%? What are you going to do when you find the house? I'll call the seller. Buying a for sale by owner. Great. So the for sale by owner is trying to save the commission, right? That's why they're for sale by owner. You're trying to save a commission that you don't actually pay. Did you know, Mr. Buyer Seller on the phone, that you don't have to pay my commission, that the seller does? Well, no. Yeah, it's brilliant. You know, I get to beat up the seller in your behalf, and in the end, the seller gives me a check and says, thank you. Like, why would you not hire me? It works. You think it's bold and it's funny, but it works. People want to buy. They don't want to be sold. And that's the difference. I didn't know who that came from. I just knew back in my brain somewhere I'd heard it one time.
Beautiful.
Okay, so the buyer lead sheet, I think there's another video that we can watch on getting this, if I can find those. I actually use this as well.
Needs analysis.
The same way.
The systematic process of collecting information about needs, wants, and desires that is used to establish and define goals. Step 2 of the buyer consultation is the needs analysis. Only when you understand what is ultimately important to your customers can you deliver it. Many agents ask their clients, what do you want in a house, and stop there. They don't realize the answer to that question isn't the same as what do you need or what's important to you. Determining your customer's core wants, needs, and values is a process. Draw a line down the middle of a piece of paper and write needs on the left and wants on the right, and use it to track their needs and wants as you go through this process. At this point, you will have a clear understanding of what buyers need versus what they want, but you are not done. Now, you want to drill down and uncover their values by finding out why they need and want what they do. Use this question. What about blank is important to you? Let's see how it works. Say your buyer has told you that they want or need a large yard. You say,
Well, what's about a large yard that's important to you?
your buyer says, I like to garden. You ask,
You like gardening. And what's important about gardening?
your buyer says, I like to spend time outdoors. It helps me relax. You ask,
Make you feel relaxed. And what's important about being relaxed?
your buyer says, when I'm relaxed, I can spend more quality time with my wife. Bullseye. A large yard equals family. At this point, you have uncovered a value. You can now look for other ways it applies to your buyer.
A large yard is important because it allows you to spend quality time with your wife, correct? So what else about your new home would be important to you in terms of spending more time?
I don't want to spend more time with her. I want a garden. That's the way I get away. Could be. I thought that they were going to go a little bit more into the needs and wants, but this is something that I absolutely do. I draw a line down the page, and I'll do this in front of them because it shows that we're listening, right? And the difference is all right, Mr. Buyer, we want to know exactly what you want in a house and what you need in a house. The difference between a want and a need is a deal breaker. So if you tell me that you need a fence and we find the absolute perfect house that doesn't have a fence, is it a deal breaker? Like, are we going to move on? And if the answer is no, I might be able to build a fence later, or whatever it is. Okay, then that's a want. We'll try to get you the house that has the fence. And if we don't, what do we need? Do we need the house to have a bathroom? Yeah, there's a need.
More than one preferably.
Preferably, now it's a want. 2 bathrooms is a want. And you can get down to this. So a lot of times I say, we need 3 bathrooms. Okay, do you need 3 bathrooms, or is 2 okay? Or is 2.5 okay? Find out where they're at. Could it work if it was 1 and it was a bigger bathroom? Could it work? Maybe, but probably not. Okay, that's probably a need then. If you're saying probably not and you're hesitating, it's probably a need.
How would this work with like an investor who?
Investors want what?
Well, like
Large returns.
yeah.
It depends on which investor that you're dealing with, but every one of them is in the profit. They don't really care about needs and wants.
Okay. So the question
And they'll tell you most often. They're very unemotional. They're great. Except they could waste a lot of your time writing hundreds of offers that you know aren't going to go anywhere. But they'll tell you, okay, I need a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and I need to get a deal. Those are basically their needs. They need to get a deal.
It's not the same kind of process.
No, it's you can level it down quite a bit more. And you know that investors are going to waste a lot of your time. It's okay to waste a little bit of the investor's time too. Just say, okay, we're going to walk through the house. You just tell me if you like it or not. I've got one that about once a week. In fact, he's already texted me this morning. Hey, what do you know about this house? I haven't texted him back, and he knows that later today that I eventually will. And I'll probably pull it up on the MLS. I don't know anything. Do you want to go see it? It's vacant. And we take 10 minutes through the house every time. He goes, and I've trained him that he'll go through, look at the house. I'll kind of mosey through and see if I see anything major that I'm looking for. But for the most part, it's him and his decision. And it always comes down to money with investors. Good question, though. Okay, what else would be on there besides bathrooms? A lot of times people will say bedrooms. School districts, a lot of times is a want, especially here. And it'll get into in this session, I believe, about school districts. But for the most part, I mean, is there a huge difference between Bonneville and Idaho Falls or Idaho Falls and Skyline? Not really. I mean, you're going to have some dud students in all of them, and you're going to have some good students in all of them. And all of our test scores are pretty well across the board. They're pretty average. Pretty low. So you're not going to get any better by going to Hillcrest versus going to Bonneville, despite what people in those districts will say. So school district, I don't think is as big a deal here. And it might be to that buyer though. They might be vested and say, I can only be in Skyline. I can't be in Idaho Falls. Well, that's a big deal to them. So find that out and put that in the wants and needs. And then I'd ask them again, say, okay, well, if we find the perfect house in Idaho Falls, but it's not in the Skyline district, is that going to be a deal killer? And maybe initially they'll say yes. And if you can't find them in the house, they're like, oh, well, maybe we can get up there and I'll see if I can get a waiver to get my kid back into Skyline. Maybe you can. So you can change those wants and needs. But if you keep this list and show it to them as you're walking through the houses too, it's a gold mine. Well, okay, well, does this have this, 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 this? It looks like it checks everything off the list. We didn't have little Fido, any room for him, but I know a guy. Okay, so what time do you have to leave? 11. Okay, so I should probably get it. And if you guys want to see my buyer presentation, we should probably get into it right now then. And I say mine, and I adapted this when I first started in real estate from Sean Kokoska, his buyer presentation. Hi, Mike.
You guys are so cool.
Thanks. I'm glad that someone noticed. I've got to find it. I thought I had it pulled up. I think Jessica stopped it. Okay, so I bring them into the office and I get them to sign a buyer rep every single time. In fact, I was over in Boise shadowing a big team over there on Friday. And I walked one of the newer agents through this same thing. She asked if she could have it. And I said, sure, that's her right here. So I gave it to her. She had already met with these guys 3 or 4 times and they would not sign a buyer rep for anything. That's my phone, sorry. And I said, walk them through the program, and I've got other things to do, so I can't be with you. But walk them through this program and then text me and let me know. She met with them at 1 o'clock, and by 2:15, I think, she texted me and said they signed. Thank you so much. It's pretty powerful. So whether you guys want to use it or not, it's here. File. Present. Look at that. Okay. So, and I'm going to treat you guys like buyers, okay? So whether you're here to buy a townhouse, a condo, residential, or new construction, I can help you out. Right? There's two different markets, or two different things. There's a salesperson and a consultant. What do you think the difference is, Savannah?
I think a consultant is more out to have your business or your best interest.
Absolutely, yeah. And so at that point, I agree with them regardless of what they say, and then I'll get them to the right answer if they don't actually have it. Because they're not really going to be off on this very much. You know, you're 100% right, and you actually were, Savannah. So good job. So yeah. So a consultant absolutely has their back, and they're trying to consult them through the whole process, right? A salesperson is just out to sell them that one house, right? And there's only one person or one way to turn me into a salesperson, Mr. Buyer, because I prefer to be a consultant. And we'll talk about that here in a little while. In fact, my team, I think we're the only ones that do this, but we actually have a love it or list it guarantee, which just means, Mr. Buyer, when you buy a house through us, if you don't absolutely love that house in the first year, we're going to list it for free because we don't want to just sell you a house. We want to help you find your house.
You say that?
I do. Yep. Yep. It works every time.
Have you ever had anyone know? Because you're just really aware of their needs. Like you.
And they know that it's their choice in the end. Like you'll see. That's a good question. And yes, I do say it, and I tout it on my old business cards. I actually used to have it written on there. So we do it. What's the difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market? Green shirt lady. I'm sorry.
Me? Oh, yeah.
Lynn. What's the difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market?
Well, a buyer's market is beneficial to a buyer, and a seller's market is beneficial to a seller.
Absolutely. Again, I agree with them regardless if it's right or wrong, and then I give them the right answer. And you, again, had it just right on. It's basic economics, whether we're talking about houses or candy bars. It's who has the upper hand in negotiations. That's the difference between a buyer's and a seller's market. Does it mean it's a bad time to buy if it's a seller's market? And I'd ask them right then too, hey, what market do you think we're in? And most people will say, well, I'm in a seller's market. Okay, great. Do you think that's a bad time to buy because of that? Because you don't want to scare them, right? We're in a seller's market and I'm here to buy crap. I'm in the wrong place. I'm going to go out the door now. No, it's not a bad time to buy because the interest rates are so low. We'll talk about that here in a little while as well. So condition versus inventory. The average list of sales price in Idaho Falls is 98.48%. Why do you think it would be important to tell them this? Because it's got the percentage?
Yeah.
It's a good answer.
You get a guy like me that wants to go in and just get the lowest price. I'm trying to see if it works.
Matt bought a house through us before he joined us, and he wanted to. You wanted to go lower, didn't you?
Well, I did, but I knew I was good.
He stole the house from the FSBO. It was awesome. Didn't even see it coming. Should have hired an agent. He'd have called me at any point during the process. Hey, what do you think my house is worth? It's probably worth $170. Thanks for selling it to us for $130. Okay, so it's important for them to know because I'm setting expectations for them so that they don't go in 20,000 or 40,000 less in a seller's market. You know, you're just wasting their time. They're wasting your time by putting in these offers. So I'm implanting it into their brain. Hey, this is what it is. So that means, Mr. Buyer, if we're looking at a $200,000 house, you know, we really can expect to pay about $196,000 for it. Okay, so our listing inventory is down 15% from the same time last year. And when inventory goes down, what does demand do? It goes up, right? And when demand goes up, what do prices do? They also go up. Yep. So let's talk about interest rates. So interest rates are down a little bit from the same time last year. We're actually almost at an all-time low for interest rates, and this is why it's still a good time to buy a house, right? Because if you if the interest rates go up even by 1%, every 1% will lose you about 11% of buying power on the back end. Did you know that? Do you guys believe me?
Yeah.
Because it's written down and it has a percentage. So cool. It's so cool. It really is. If you go use a mortgage calculator and try a bunch of different things, it'll come out between 10 and 11%. So what it means is when we're buying that same $200,000 house, if the interest rates go up to get the exact same payment as it was a few months ago, we can only look at a $178,000 house to get that same payment. Now does that 1% look big to these buyers? They just lost themselves $22,000 because they waited until spring. Until spring, they cost themselves $22,000 because they waited. Is it a big deal? Absolutely. There's a big difference between a $178,000 house and a $200,000 house. So it's important, Mr. Buyer, to get you pre-approved because it benefits you as a buyer. It turns you into a cash buyer, saves you money, gives you leverage in multiple offer situations, and confidence that your offer is going to be heard. And what I mean by that is, when we get into an offer, if the seller has two different offers, or we're kind of in a bidding war a little bit, and one offer says, I'll give you your $200,000 for the house, no problem. I'm sure I'm good for it. Don't worry about it. I haven't talked to a bank yet. Or we go in and say, we'll give you $195,000. Here's the money. Or here's a paper saying that we can get the money. So who's the seller going to go with? Why? And I asked him these questions. This is exactly how I do this.
Because the qualifier for financing doesn't go through. You accepted an offer, and those people that are pre-qualified and moved on and
so yes, you're right, and that's a little bit more advanced than most buyers are going to give you because they don't see these offers fall apart. So it's easier to explain that ultimately a seller wants to sell a house, right? And they don't want to take it off the market for 30 or 45 days only to then have to restart over and put it on the market. They care more about getting it sold. So more often it's going to save you money by coming in and getting pre-qualified because they know that your offer is good. And they'll take yours every time. Again, I'm setting them up because I don't want to go show them houses if they're not going to be approved. Will I? The book says to say no right then, but I do occasionally because you've got to sometimes build that value for the buyer, right? But at the whole time, if you're setting them up to do this, they're going to be asking, hey, I found the house. Can I get pre-qualified? Hopefully we can get it before this house is gone. Yeah. Let's call a lender. Buyer agency. Now in the state of Idaho, you have the right to choose to be represented or not. 100% of my clients choose buyer agency.
Indeed.
Exactly. So it's a play on words, yes. And it is 100% is true. And as Sheila, yes, said earlier, no one wants to be left out. Like, well, if 100% of people that he talks to choose him as his agent, I probably should too. I don't want to be a statistic. So 100% of my buyers choose buyer agency. The average listed sales price, again, is 98.48%. I'm driving it home. My averages are closer to 96%. So I'm going to get the average buyer twice as good a deal as they would with any other agent. And that's because of my experience and my negotiation skills. I work with both buyers and sellers, so I'm able to see over 100 houses a month. Why do you think that would benefit them? Experience, yeah, absolutely. I know the market. Not only do I know the percentages and the statistics, but I know the market. I know the houses. We can get you buyer instant notification. So a lot of times when we set it up on our website to show you the houses that come out, you're going to know which houses fit you faster than I even see them. And I'm setting them up so that they know that they have to work. It's not just on me to find them a house, even though, kind of on the back end it is. But if we set them up to do some of this work, it'll make your job so much easier. And then when I represent you as a buyer, I can answer you in a paragraph instead of a sentence. If I've already been in a house and I know that it has an issue, I can tell you what the issue is. If you choose to not be represented by me, now you've turned me into a salesman. You're saying, hey, Ryan, I really want you to sell me this house and don't do anything else. I'll say that to him that way. I'm like, oh, I hate salesmen. Hey, who do you know that's a salesman? Car salesman. Yeah. They're not fun, are they? I don't want to be a used car salesman, so don't turn me into one. Okay, how do I get paid? Salesperson, how do I get paid? See, I warned you guys I'm not going to remember names, so that's good. Feel a little better. Yeah, that's true. Who pays my wages? Seller does. A lot of buyers don't know this either, and a lot of sellers don't know this. So the seller does. So it really is brilliant, Mr. Buyer. I get to beat up the seller in your behalf, and in the end, the seller is going to smile, say thank you, and gives me a check. All brokers or agents have access to the same information. The real difference is the speed that we can get it for you. You know, so if you've already been shopping out on Zillow, you realize that all those pre-foreclosures and things are just not accurate. You also realize that a lot of the houses that they say are active sold 2 years ago. And I say the same stuff so I can discourage them from using those websites that don't benefit us. And our website will get you fairly real time. If a house goes pending, it's going to be taken off our website. It's off the app within 15 minutes usually. So the speed is there. Now, if you see a for sale by owner, Matt, what do you think you should do?
I'm gonna call you
Yeah, call me first. Why do you think that would be?
because you're a pro.
I'm a pro. Perfect. Absolutely. And so how many buyers or how many houses do you think the average for sale by owner has? They have one, right? So you walk through their door, they are epitome of a salesperson. They're going to tell you everything about that house. They're going to say, look at this door. It has custom trim. Yeah, just like all the neighbors. Right? Well, little Bobby grew up here, and this is his wall. Great, so I have to repaint. I don't care about little Bobby. I'm glad that he grew up for you. But it doesn't change the value. But the homeowner thinks that it does. So they already have it listed 10,000 higher. So I need to negotiate that, make sure that it's a house that's good for you to go see. Also, again, who pays my wages? The seller, right? And a lot of for sale by owners don't know that. So I need to call them and educate them on the process so that they know and we know that it's a house that we really can go look at. If it's $20,000 too high, do you think you want to waste your time or my time to go through the house? Probably not. And I do that. I say that a lot too. I don't want to waste your time, and I hope you don't want to waste my time, because it really helps when you get through the process. Because ultimately, do you really want to show someone 30 or 40 houses before they decide? Once you get to about 15, you're like, oh my gosh, if I have to show these guys one more house, all right, I'm going to do it because I've already put in so much time. What's another 15 houses? I'm going to keep going because now I'm invested, and it's going to cost you money in the end. Yeah. And had they set the expectations, it probably wouldn't have been that way. Now, did you know that you can buy a house through an attorney? What in the world is going on? In some states, it's actually required. And I have no idea where my PowerPoint is.
Are there no real estate agents in these states? Or attorneys?
Yeah, like New York, they have to be attorneys. So you can buy a house through a broker. Have you ever used an attorney for anything? Jill, no? Okay, so what's the first thing that happens when you go talk to an attorney?
Your retainer, and then there's an hourly fee, and everything. 6 minutes is.
Yep. So they'll say, hey, give me some money, I'll work for you. They charge by the hour. And do they guarantee any of their results? I'll tell you what, if you found one that would, I want their name because that's awesome. And so they're going to charge you, Mr. Buyer, regardless if they are successful in helping you find the house or not. You're going to pay them, right? I don't get paid until I actually am successful in finding your house for you. And remember, I have that letter listed. We're going to find the house. Can I mute somebody?
I would love you to.
Nope. either Jessica or it's Kim. Maybe I'm in as Jessica. Either way, they're muted now. You're welcome. Okay, so now if you see a new home build, you see a bunch of open houses, go ahead and just walk into them. Tell them that you're working with me. It's basically like an open house guest pass. I can even give you a couple of business cards. You can hand them if you want to. And when you walk in, know that the on-site salesperson is representing the seller, right? So they're going to want you to buy that house. But if you walk in and say, hey, I'm working with Ryan, then they'll say, okay, let me know if you have any questions. They'll let you walk through the house. They'll be great and helpful if you do have questions about that house. Just know that you've got professional representation and that I'm there working for you, not working for the seller.
Will you show this to every person
I attempt to. If I could, our numbers would be even higher.
in your office? Like, how do you get those people? Most people are like, don't even want anything to do, right?
You've got to provide the value on the phone, and if you can get them in the office, it works. We did this last week with a buyer. Came from California, and it was just, that was the process. I said, okay, let's meet at the office. We'll take 20 minutes and go through this.
You just let them know this is what we do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And these guys were grateful, right? They ate this stuff up because it helped them. And we knew that they're not going to buy for a couple of months, and I still took them through this process because I don't want to waste a lot of my time. And that's really what it's all about. Okay, so shopping. How many houses do you think the average buyer looks at before they find the right one? 10? Okay. You had some numbers.
I don't know.
5?
Please say 5.
5. I can't remember your name again. Trish. I remembered that. So what if I told you, Mr. Buyer, that my average buyer looks at 5 houses? And they usually are shocked because sometimes it'll be 30, sometimes it'll be 50. Okay, well, this is how we get to 5, right? The important thing is I want feedback. You're not going to offend me one way or the other if you like a house or if you don't. It's not my house. I don't really care. I mean, I do care, but I don't really care. They understand that, right? Just tell me why it is you like a house or why it isn't, because I've already been through a lot of houses. And when you tell me what you don't like about a house or what you do like about a house, I'm already formulating in my mind what the next house is that we should go look at. And so then we'll get online and we'll bust it down to usually 10 or 12 houses that meet your criteria. And a lot of times I'll have you guys drive the neighborhood and see if you like that house, because if you don't like the neighborhood, I don't care if it's the Taj Mahal, you're not going to want to live in the neighborhood. I don't want to waste your time, and I hope you don't want to waste my time by looking at houses that we know that we just don't want. Is that fair? They'll always say yes. It's okay, great. And then we'll usually get down to 5 or 6 houses, and I'll put the one that I think is the best one first on the list.
Wait, you tell them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll get down to about 5 or 6 houses, and I'll put the first one, the one I think is best, first, and then the second one, and then the third one. And usually, we'll go through the first house, and you love it, and you think it's great, and you say what? Let's look at another one. I want to make sure. Yeah, I want to make sure. Cool. I got the next one set up right now, so we go to the second one, and it's a little bit less. And then we go to the third one. Usually by the third one, you're like, Ryan, that first house really is the one that we want. Will I show them more than 5? Yeah, because this is an average, right? And if I can get it through with 2 or 3, bonus. You're setting them up to be that. And so now they're going to go into this first house and like, this is the one I'm going to love. And then I'm going to go to the second one, just like he said. I'm not going to like it as much. And then I'm going to go to the third one, and I'm going to hate it, and we're going to go right up and offer on the first. It works. Okay, so especially this time being the extreme sellers market that we're in, it's really important that we move quickly. So when we find that right house, know that there's about 5 other buyers that are also thinking it's the right house. The quicker we can get these offers written, the better for you. We use all the standard real estate forms. If you can't sleep at night, give me a call. I'll read it to you. No, nothing? Like, I got one smile. Thanks, Maddie. Appreciate that. Okay, and then we get down to the earnest money. Earnest money, there's a little bit of a misconception out there. A lot of people think that once you put the earnest money down that you lose it, right? But you're hiring me to protect your money. And so there's only going to be really two ways that you lose, or one way that you lose your earnest money, and that's if we get into contract, we find the house that you want, we get through inspection, we get through appraisal, everything's good. A week before closing, you're like, Ryan, I don't want the house. I can't really help you at that point, right? But all the way through the process, I can help you when you're honest with me and tell me if it's a house that you want or not. Typically, earnest money is about 1% of the offer price. Have a good day. Good of you to see me. And then we get down to the inspection. Now, inspections, we're looking really for major items. I don't want to know if we have a cracked faceplate on the wall because that's part of being a homeowner, right? You're going to be able to fix those things yourself. But I do want to know if we have a cracked foundation. Especially in this market, because if we ask for a bunch of ticky-tack things on our inspection, all that does is open it back up for negotiation, and that seller can then go sell the house to the next person. So we don't want to do that. Then we get down to the appraisal. Appraisals are typically about $450, depending on your lender. They might have you pay that up front. Most times we can get it covered in your closing costs. The great part is that you can't overpay for a property. We get down to loan approval, means that you have a reason to celebrate. Then we get down to the closing table. All your time and efforts have paid off. You bring a cashier's check made out to the title company for the difference of your closing costs and your down payment. Make sure you bring your official driver's license or ID. They don't like people to come into title companies that can't drive. And know that with us, you're always working with a specialized team. We've got our admin staff, we've got our other agents. We're round the clock availability. Jess, if you're listening to this, I say it, and it's okay if you can back it up. So round the clock availability, we have our knowledge is second to none. As I already told you, we sold 105 houses last year, so we know what we're doing. And then our communication. You'll never not have reason to, or an excuse to not communicate with us. You can text us, you can call us, you can email us. There's always a way for you to get a hold of me. And I say it that way on purpose because, again, their expectation up front is that I am going to do all of this work and find them the house. And I don't ever want to let them down. Am I going to work for them? Sure. But I would rather them do the work. And they know that it's up to them to contact me. And that's where it's the availability. So when I say around the clock, I'll say, if you're anything like me, if you have a question come up at 2 in the morning, if you're anything like me, you're going to forget it by the time the morning rolls around. So do me a favor, text me right then. Go ahead.
How do you set them up do you pass them along to your team?
I have a little bit different structure on my team than most other teams. And so there's not really a whole lot of passing the bucks. We don't have buyer's agents and listing agents. We have agents. And so we don't truly shift them back and forth, but we do have our transaction coordinators, and they're with them the whole step of the way. So the moment we get under contract on our team, the transaction coordinators are sending an email to both them and to us, so I can see exactly all the communication that's going on. And it's going to introduce themselves to the client, say, hey, I work for Ryan, or I work for Matt, or I work for Lori, and this is what the process is going to be. You're probably going to have better success reaching me than working with the agents in the field, although they will be in touch with you periodically. So that's basically what that opening email says. And then the TCs will call them, and it's pretty seamless that way.
So do you prepare them for that when you go in this presentation when you're presenting this to your buyers?
Somewhat. When I talk about the specialized team, I tell them that we have transaction coordinators that are here to handle all the paperwork. Yep. But I do, on this availability, that text is important because I do say, write it down, shoot me a text. If I answer you back at 2:30 in the morning, guess what? I'm available. If I don't, I'm sleeping and I'll respond in the morning. And people love it because we're in a very do it now mentality, right? And so if you don't answer a call at 5 o'clock in the afternoon because you're at an appointment, and you hadn't set them up to know that you're at an appointment, they're going to go find somebody else that can give it to them now. So if you set them up from the beginning, hey, I'm going to get back with you regardless, just shoot over your question and I'll get it answered, then it'll help you guys long term, guaranteed. Okay, this is all the stuff that I do for you. You don't have to memorize it, but there's a quiz in a minute. And these are the different departments that I'm going to organize for you as well. And I'll go through that quickly. And yes, I use that little bit of humor. Some people laugh. Some people are like, okay, this guy's really corny, but it's cool. I'm already sold on him. And then I say, okay, now our goal is to get you the best price with the fewest hassles in the time frame that you desire. How does that sound, Jill? Good. Any reason that you wouldn't choose me to be your agent right now? Perfect. Okay, so our promise. Oh, she changed this. My gal that I taught in Boise changed this slide on me. This is good. I might keep it. Yeah, I gotta. You guys can read this as fast as I can. There was another slide in there that I had before that, but good. Referrals. Now we work on a referral basis, and so when I give you the service that you deserve, I say that word deserve because a lot of people don't think that they deserve it, and they do. And if you tell them that they do, now they definitely do. So when I give you the type of service that you deserve, you know, I would hope that you would want to allow me to talk to your friends and family. Is that fair? And I say, is that fair or right? And I'm always nodding my head because then they're hearing it visually, or hearing it, yeah, they're hearing it visually. Don't judge me, the Bible says not to. So who do you know right now that's looking to buy or sell a house that I can talk to? No one? Okay, great. Well, thanks for thinking about it. Tell you what, now, have you ever bought a new car and like a day after you buy it, you see those cars everywhere, but before you never saw them? House buying is going to be exactly the same way. So now that you're in the process of buying a house, you're going to start to pick up on conversations and hear people that are wanting to buy and sell all the time. So would you do me a favor? When you hear those, could you just say, hey, can I have my agent call you? And then call me with their name and number? Because I'll tell you what, if you give them my name and number, that's great. About 50% of them is going to call me. But if you call me with their name and number, then 100% chance I'm going to call them back and give them the service that they deserve. And that way they're not caught in a weak moment with a weak agent. Added value. Again, we're working with a specialized team. We have our love it or list it guarantee. We do customer appreciation functions. Like, I don't know if you guys saw it a couple months ago. We had HGTV come to town. One of our agents was featured on House Hunters, and we bought the theater and had all of our clients and future clients come over. So we do stuff like that, and then we can help you get discounts on carpet, appliances, tile, etc. And it's convenience really of one-stop shopping. So our pledge, whether buying or selling, we pledge to dedicate ourselves to making your purchase or sale as successful as possible. Respect you as a client, put your interests first. Again, this is huge. We're not working for our commission, we're working for you. We value your time, and we want to be as efficient as possible. Respond quickly to your questions and needs. Consult and communicate with you on a regular basis throughout your transaction, and explain local real estate procedures and regulations. Any questions? Okay, great. So do you still have a few more minutes, Mr. Buyer? Sure. Perfect. So let's go through and find out what exactly it is that you want in a house. And then maybe we can even, if you still have some time after that, maybe we can even get online and start looking for a few houses. And now I'll go into the want and the need list if they have time and really start to button that down. And then if you can, go right into showing them the houses online. Again, you're not going to waste too much more of their time or your time to do this. And it'll help a ton to do it right in front of them. Do the search right then and go through the pictures and say, okay, tell me yes, no, or maybe so on every one of these houses. Again, you're not going to offend me. Just tell me why. And we'll start flipping through pictures. And if it's yes or maybe, then I click the button. So then when I go back at the end, I can just say view selected. And that usually comes down to 10 or 12 houses. I'm like, let's do it again. Tell me yes, no, or maybe so. and we'll start going through it again. And we can a lot of times start to eliminate. Sometimes we'll be down to 5 at that point. And I'm like, okay, this one really looks like the best one. Let's put that number 1 on the list. When can we go look? You're doing the whole process right then. They don't realize that you're speeding up the process for you. And they appreciate it because you're giving them exactly what they want quickly. Questions? We're an hour early. We can go through the rest of the stuff too. I did. I just shared it. So if I turned all of you guys into being agents that I trained, I guess not really.
It's not beneficial for you.
Yeah. And so although I don't mind sharing it, and if you wanted to come ask questions, I have no problem, expressing that. And I owe my agents the kind of the exclusivity.
To protect them.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So I'm protecting them because they've signed on with me to have this extra help. And that's what I do. So yes, I'd be more than happy to help you. And, if you wanted to come partner up with us, then you have access to everything.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Thank you. And it really is, Maddie can attest to this, it really is more of a partnership with us than being on, it's not my team. I'm just a partner on the team. And my job is just to lead the team. It's not a one agent and then everybody else type deal. So it works out pretty good. All right, back into maybe it didn't work. What do you have to ask?
I said it doesn't hurt to ask.
Ask it.
Even if you don't know, but I asked
Oh, that was
Yeah.
the question?
you. Yeah.
Let me reconsider. Yeah, I'm still not going to do it.
Well, thank you for taking a moment to
Yes. Well played, sir.
And I said, I wrote down the things that I really loved about it, but it's pretty cool.
It took me a while. This is part of what I was putting together when I first started, is really diving into it and figuring out what worked for me and what didn't. And then I went over this thing time and time again. So it doesn't sound rehearsed when I say it. I hope it didn't sound rehearsed to you guys. And that's because I've been over it so many times, it really became my language. And so that's what I'm asking Maddie and Lori to do, is to go over this thing so many times that it becomes them and they're able to just fly through this and quickly look through the slide. I'm like, oh, that's a new slide. It's not in there.
So I do have another question.
Sure.
Not trying to get stuff from you.
Do what you need to. I'm here for you guys. Honestly, and I really am open to share.
So we have buyers. Right now we have buyers. The husband likes the new, and the he's not into the project.
Okay.
And the wife wants the project. And
What?
so they're sending
A husband and wife are not on the same page?
No, and I'm trying
Does this happen to anyone else ever?
Like that ever happens.
Anyway, I'm curious if you're able to, if you have some magic.
The want and the need list helps.
Yeah.
And they're going to be different. And they, right in front of them while you're doing this, just the husband will bring up something. Well, I need a shop. Do you really need the shop? And the wife will jump in. You don't really need the shop. You want the shop. I need a big kitchen. And he'll be like, yeah, probably need a big kitchen.
I'm trying to bring them together.
But that's,
We're getting closer.
do it at the same time in the presentation while you're doing that want and need, and they will start to figure that out between themselves. You might actually play a little marriage counselor as you're doing it.
Oh, no.
It's not a bad thing, because I mean, they're not going to really fight hardcore in front of you. They might have their little disagreements, and then you can kind of help diffuse that situation a little bit. Usually in our society, the woman is more the decision maker, but you got to pad the guy's ego too, because we like to believe that we have a choice, and that's all we need. We just need a belief. Like, okay, Cool. I had a choice. I wanted to shop and I got a kitchen. I had a choice.
That's almost a shop.
That's almost. She's happy and I'm happy.
She's happy you don't have to
I
drive
may
to shop.
I may get a shop later, or I might not. But if you haven't if you haven't do that,
She doesn't like you sleeping in that shop.
yeah.
If you're lucky.
So that's what I do is I like to have them together when I do that, and they'll help self-identify. And then the other thing when I'm out, I don't know if we get into out showing houses in this or no. Has anyone read ahead? Cheated, Stephen? The other thing that I do when I'm out showing houses, it's the next chapter, so you can take this to your Wednesday class. I have them rank the house when I'm through it on a scale of 1 to 7, and a 4 doesn't count. Because guys, Stephen laughs, we're a 4 on every house, typically. I mean, yes, there's going to be one-offs and stuff like that, but typically we're a 4 on every house. We don't really care. Is our wife happy? Okay, it's going to work for us. Is the roof leaking? Everything's a 4. And we're very non-committal people. So we'll be a 4. So that's why I say 4 doesn't count, because I want them to be either above or below average. And the reason I do that, and I tell them, this is the reason I do it. Even if they don't want to answer that first house, I'm like, okay, this is why I'm asking. This is going to help you. Because when we start to look at a bunch of houses, you're not going to remember, was this the one with the huge pantry, or was this the one with the fire pit in the back? Was this the one with the 3-car garage? You don't have to remember all that stuff if you have it in a ranking system. So if this house is truly a 6 and it's what you want, right? And the next house is a 5 or the next house is a 7, we can eliminate one of those houses. Now all we have to do is remember the 7 or just go right up to 7, because if it's a 7, we're writing it up right now. But if it's a 5, we can get rid of this one off the list and we can keep with the 6. So that way we only have 1 or maybe 2 houses in mind. And it does really help them then they don't have to try to remember all the houses, and you don't have to go back and try to explain them which one they didn't like, because they'll start looking at the pictures again and say, well, I really do like that. Do you remember looking through it? That was the one house in Idaho that has cockroaches. I've seen it. It exists. They don't anymore. It was terrible. Anyway, so that's a little thing that I do is make them, and I'll tell them too that, look, your definition of 5s and 6s are going to be probably different, and that's okay. We're looking for the best house for you, sir, and the best house for you, ma'am. If you're at a 6 and you're at a 5 on this house, let's see at the next house. See if we can get you a 6 and a 7, or if it's a 5 and a 4, then, or a 5 and a 3.5. Sometimes they get inventive. I'll give this a 4.5, because that's not a 4. Very good. You're just above average. I like it. So then the rest of this is having you guys practice the buyer analysis and the needs analysis. That's it. We actually got through everything. So your turn. You can either have this time to go lead gen, and you can practice the buyer consultation. There is a buyer consultation in your Ignite folder or the online that shows, it's a little bit different obviously than the one I just showed you, but there's a lot of good stuff in there too. Maybe you just start to tweak that and make it your own. Yes, sir.
One thing that I liked about your presentation as you were kind of zipping through it is the fills that you were going, which helped you prompt conversations, and there was one part, and I can't remember the exact detail, where you used the phrase that came up, but in an entirely different sentence and context as what was on the screen, which in my mind underlined, the kind of stick value of, oh, wow, kind of a thing. I don't know if you did that on purpose or if that's just kind of how.
I mean, if it was good, obviously I did it on purpose.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
My bad. I apologize for even having questioned that. But
I will forgive you one time.
Nice. But I liked the way that assisted with the flow and focus, you're much less likely to go off on tangents. You're much less likely to miss anything if you're following things as you're going with the presentation.
You're 100% right. I use this a lot to keep me on task because, as you well know by now, I can get off track in a hurry. Sometimes I can bring it back, and sometimes I have no idea where I was at. Yeah, I am definitely a dog with a squirrel.
But yeah, I like that, and I am too, terribly. And I think in setting up a buyer's presentation, I'm going to adopt that style of, main points being auto-filled, which would prompt questions and discussions, and then you just keep on keeping on. I like it.
Thank you. And I had another thought, and dog with a squirrel, I think I lost it. Oh, here it is. I got it. See? Talking about dogs and squirrels, I remember stuff. So our main job as agents, really, other than lead gen, when we're in front of a client, our main job is to educate them. Right? They need to be educated so that they can make the right offer that possibly get their house, or they need to know the market statistics. It's all about education. And I think that presentation, or your buyer presentation, just make it yours and make sure you put in education in there. Yes, it should be all about them, and they should be educated so it's not wasting your time. And there's a good script too. It's, you ask how, I think it was you that asked how you get them into the office. You can say, that's a great question. Why I have you meet me in the office is a lot of times it's better to slow down in the beginning and make sure that all our ducks in a row so that we can speed up at the end when it counts. And it works. I've got one buyer. He's an old friend of mine. I cheated the system a little bit and decided, okay, well, I can educate him. I know this buyer presentation pretty well, right? I can educate them as I'm showing them houses. And he blows up my phone. He's been under contract for a week, and every day I get 6 or 7 more texts, more questions. If I'd have stopped and slowed down and showed him this at the beginning, he wouldn't be blowing up my phone right now. And it's not something that can be changed. Like, I can't now take him in and say, okay, let's do this buyer presentation. It's too late. I missed. And so any agent that says that they don't cheat at their own systems is probably lying, because we're all trying to fail forward, and we're all trying to cut corners. It happens. I mean, you get busy, you'll find that you do the same thing. You'll start to try to cut corners, and it's better if you don't. And we all know it. We still do it.
One thing that I have heard is talking with potential buyers, just let them know if they have resistance for coming in the office, saying pretty much, really what we do there is we make sure that you understand what's going on in the market, and we also want to make sure that we understand what your needs and wants are, because 20 minutes or half hour at the front end can save us hours on the back end, and you do want to save that time, don't you?
It's good. It's good. And it sometimes could be as easy as, well, this is my process. This is my policy.
Get on the same page and see it that way.
You'll get to the point where you're getting sign calls, and we do it because Southeast Idaho is a little bit more of a safe environment typically. It doesn't mean that everybody you talk to is going to be safe to go out and show a house with. And so if you can get them into the office so that you can get your good feelers out there, it's so much better.
So I have sort of kind of an example of that. I had a client that called off of our sign, called in. It was an 800 number call. Anyway, he calls. He's in St. George. He keeps me on the line. It was really odd, and I was just like, okay, well, let me know when you're in the area, and we'll get an appointment set up to see if this is where you want to be. He's like, well, I'm not sure if I want to be there or not, The next day he calls me, he says, I'm going to be there tomorrow morning. And so I said, okay, well, let's set up an appointment. We set up an appointment at 10:30 here, conference room, so we could find some places to show him. Well, he doesn't show up at 10:30, so I call at like 11, follow up, and he's like, well, I'm at my hotel room, and my rental car isn't available, blah, blah, blah.
And the hair on the back of your neck is standing up, and
Yeah, he goes, I need you to come pick me up at my hotel. I'd really like a tour of the town. And I am just like, no way. The day before, I had red flags come up. Well, Phil, he's not here. I called the guy back and I said, well, you know, I said, let me see if I can get this arranged. And I said, so I called him back and I said, I don't have anybody in the office that's available to go with me this morning. And I had told him the day before I was only available until 12:30, that my afternoon was booked. And he knew that. And it was at 11 when I called him, and he wants me to go pick him up for a tour. And anyway, so one thing leads to another, and he got kind of angry and upset that I didn't have the time of day to come take him on the tour. And I was like, and he's like, and I said, we kind of have a buddy system for our safety. When we haven't met somebody, we'd like them to come to the office first. And he's like, well, I bypassed that system if I had a buyer in hand, and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, Phil ended up taking him out for me. And he had an appointment set at 2:30. Then they had one at 4:30. Then they finally met at 5:30. And the one thing that he said to me, he's like, I'm a 71-year-old man. What am I going to do to you? I'm like, I don't know.
You're a 71-year-old man, sir. What will you do to me? I don't really want to find out. I'm going to send Phil.
So anyway,
Phil will find out.
he was awesome. He took it and ran with it. And I don't know if he's ever heard back from him or not. I know that he was really upset with me because I just was like, no.
Yeah, and
no,
that's
I am not going to.
no. You've got to stick with your intuition. It's going to serve you better than anything. And no commission is worth
like
what
being
could.
dead in the gutter. That's
Yeah.
what Sandra told me. She's like, I
What
don't
could
want to be
happen.
dead in the gutter. And I'm like,
Right.
well, neither does anybody else that I know.
But maybe this 71-year-old man does. You don't know. Yeah, you don't know.
He was
So
strange,
you've
so.
really got to be careful.
Yeah.
I know my wife actually takes a taser with her all the time, and she can handle herself. She can handle herself a whole lot better with a taser. I just know where it's at, so I don't mess with her when.
So you don't go sneaking up on her.
Yeah, she's got it in her back pocket. Now's a great time to sneak up on her and scare her. I'm not that dumb. Anyway, any other questions that anybody has for me? And I really, right now, I'll answer any questions about
Something on
our
Saturday,
team
though.
or
I know
anything.
we're supposed to call in, but if somebody calls us on say Saturday,
Mhm.
and while they're, this is the only time they have off, how we handle saying,
Take someone with you.
yeah.
Well,
Not
and
normally I'd call in. I'd call in.
you can still use the building on a Saturday. There's usually 2 or 3 people around sometime. And I would still just get him to come in, because typically if they come in, then they're not the scary people.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
they'd have
they'll
to
get lost
be
if they do,
they'd have to be
so-
bold and scary to come in and like, yeah, let's do this. Okay, I'm here. Let's go look at houses. I got my machete in the back. You want to follow me, or do you want to ride with me?
Get it, drop it good.
Yeah, I think even on a Saturday or a Sunday, it's completely up to you if you want to meet them, and I would try to have them meet here. Yep, just for safety precautions. It just helps. And when you're going alone like that, I'd always tell somebody, hey, this is where I'm going. I'm going to show somebody. If you don't hear from me in 2 hours, would you mind giving me a call?
Yeah.
And it's okay if you're out showing a house and everything's fine, and you get that phone call from your buddy system, just say, hey, you know what? I need to take this. Can you give me 2 minutes? No one's gonna say no, and it's not bad. Just hey, it's my daughter calling. I really need to answer this. Give me a second. Doesn't matter if you have a daughter or not, really. It's your buddy system. So hey, my daughter's calling. I really need to answer this. They don't really need to know, and you just get on and say, yeah, everything's good. I'll see you, honey, in a few minutes or half an hour. Everything's fine. Cool. Okay, what questions about anything can I answer? Lori, I think we're good. Go Rock and 20 contacts. Pocatello guy, do you have any questions? Okay. Have a good day, sir.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute this thing.
Any questions that you have, or are you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay, awesome.
Good job.
Have a great day.
You too.